Hi, everybody. I'm Candid Frank. He's Aaron William Freeland, and this is Maple Leaf Talk, where we talk everything Maple Leaf. And that just isn't the Maple Leafs, the Toronto Maple Leafs. It is the Red Maple Leaf. Anything that has anything to do with Canadian teams, we like to talk about it, and we like to keep track of what's going on. Everything from tennis to hockey to baseball to basketball. They don't have to be Canadian players. They can be Canadian teams that have American players. We don't care because, the Leafs are like that. And, of course, we love our Canadian stuff like the Canadian Football League, which is, Americans and Canadians mixed. I just got an invite. Just a quick note. Next week, we'll be talking to general managers and coaches of the Canadian Football League. And the commissioner said he's willing to talk to us. And by us, I mean I got an email invitation. So we're going to be doing the Microsoft Teams thing. So that should be fun.
That should be fascinating, actually. I should make sure that I'm there for it. Well, at least tuned in.
Well, we'll see. Well, it's actually I'll see what I can do about recording this stuff, and then we're allowed to record it and then play it. So that's all good. But more about that when we get to the Canadian Football League. Right now, I want to give a high five to Scotty Laughton. He has really proved to be the kind of asset they hoped he would be in the playoffs last year. He didn't quite become what he is today. What he is today is a incredible penalty killer, and also a guy that wins faceoffs. Last night, 95% of the faceoffs that he took part in, he won. Oh, and by the way, he scored a shorthanded goal to tie the game at ones so that later on in the game, the Leafs could win in overtime. Okay, Aaron, if I've left anything out, please fill in the spaces.
When you go 19 of 20, especially in a return to a team that you played for a good, solid 600-odd games of hockey, that's definitely something. And you know how we usually predict that X players from X teams will usually score goals? This time around, it worked out for us for a change. In that the ex-Philly guy scored against the Flyers, so I'll definitely take that. The winning goal was scored by Easton Cowan at 2:48 of overtime was off a beautiful drop pass, between the legs drop pass, backhand on Tavares.
Yep.
Absolutely dynamite, put it off the post and in. That gives us the 2-1 win. The Leafs are now 1 point out of the second wildcard spot in the Eastern Conference, and they're now 6-10-2 on the road. The Leafs have won 13 of their past 14 games with the Flyers and are now 6-0-2 in their past 8 games. They haven't lost in regulation time since last year, specifically December 21st versus Dallas. Having said that, they are now going to get the break Saturday night, but they've done a really, really good job these past few weeks of actually getting points, which is kind of important at this time of year,
Absolutely. I gotta tell you that it's just, look, we always talked about the reason the Leafs didn't win in the playoffs was because they didn't have a playoff caliber team, players who rise to the occasion when the stress is in, the difficulty is amped up, and the other team you're up against knows there's something at stake, and the Leafs can't seem to rise above the other team's, ability to amp up their game because of what's at stake. Well, here's what's at stake for the Leafs right now, and that is the playoffs. And in their division, the Atlantic Division, they're all playing really well. We talked about, and I talked a lot about the fact that the further the Leafs go down the standings, the harder it is going to be for them to catch up to everybody else because there'll be so many teams in between. And right now, what we're seeing, I just wanted to mention this, is the Atlantic Division right now has nobody in the wild card. Guess what? There's 4 teams right behind the wild card, and they're all Atlantic teams, and they've all been playing really well. And before you know it, there'll be 5 Atlantic teams qualifying at this point in the season, or at the future point in the season, for the playoffs, of which one can be the Maple Leafs.
There's 13 points between last place in the Eastern, and that's Columbus with 43, and first place in the Atlantic Division, which is 56 points, and that's the Montreal Canadiens. The Leafs in their last 10 are 6-2-2. They are chasing the Capitals, who are 3-5-2 in their last 10. The Buffalo Sabres, who have won 12 of their last 13 and are 9-1-0 in their last 10, and the Pittsburgh Penguins, who are currently 7-3-0. They're on a 6-game heater themselves. So we are currently 1 point out of a wild card, 1 point behind Washington and Buffalo, and 2 points behind Pittsburgh. This wasn't the case as little as 2 weeks ago. So the fact that we've managed to make up ground and leapfrog the Bruins, the Panthers, the Devils, the Rangers, and the Senators.
Everybody, they were in last place, Aaron. It's easier just to say they had to catch up to everybody.
Yeah, but I like the list. It feels more. It feels better.
Okay, no, I feel you. I respect your desire to emphasize that the Bruins got passed by the Leafs. I know why you're saying that. So I'm just gonna say that all I was trying to say was that it's every team that they had to pass, and now they're at a point where they've gone from being the last team in the hunt for the playoffs in this conference to one team in front of them that they can catch in those 2 weeks. So I was just saying the same thing you are, in a different way. And if you're a Leaf fan, there's a lot of concern that you'll have, essentially wondering if this is a bubble and will it burst. Well, the good news is, when I was talking about playing when it really matters and when it's toughest, the Leafs have gone through a really tough stretch of injuries, and everybody gets injuries. Don't get me wrong. I'm not here. This is not about excuses, but this is about an opportunity. We tell people all the time, success is built on hard work and luck, both, right? So if they get some hard work and then get some luck, and they keep playing like this and they get into a playoff spot, then they got to be in the position where they can't rest on their laurels. And the next thing is they got to keep playing better than any other team that's in their way or right behind them. And you've got a great situation now. Tell me about this Luke Schenn thing.
So as everybody knows, we've been having some issues on defense this year. There have been rumors and talk of the Leafs being reconnected to Luke Schenn. Winnipeg are increasingly expected to be sellers at the upcoming NHL trade deadline, with several of their defensemen believed to be available to teams looking to bolster a thin back end. One name that continues to surface is Luke Schenn. The Toronto Maple Leafs are once again being linked to Schenn, former 5th overall pick from 2008. Now, Toronto's interest comes at a rather critical time because the club is missing Chris Tanev. Multiple reports have suggested that this injury could actually be season-ending this time. It's difficult, man. It's one of those situations where you absolutely hate to see it, but on the back end, Riley hasn't been playing all that well. Jake McCabe is out. Chris Tanev is out. There's got to be somebody else that you can bring up. Unfortunately, the Leafs don't trust their farm system as much as they could or as much as they should.
Well, I think it's experience I think it's the experience that but I think one of the things we talked about in past weeks is the trade you don't make. And this is a great candidate for that situation, the trade that you don't make. If the Leafs are patient with those young guys who are showing that they're capable of playing against some pretty good teams, I get it, Aaron. I just don't like the idea that the Leafs are going to trade any more assets.
Yeah, and the other thing that we're looking at here too is Schenn was actually benched shortly before his 1100th career NHL game, which points to a bit of an issue between him and management. Spit and Chicklets was, of course, happy to jump on that. The problem that they have here is that they've hired Scott Arniel as the full-time head coach, and he's notoriously apparently difficult to work with. I wouldn't go so far as to him being described in hockey circles as being a bad guy, but he certainly is one of the tougher people apparently to deal with. Dave Pagnotta has also added fuel to the fire, saying that Schenn is open to a change of scenery, which is the light way of putting it. But the thinking is that the 36-year-old veteran could potentially be moved for a lower draft pick. So we're talking fifth, 6th, or 7th, which the Leafs still have. I think they've got one of them at least that they could potentially trade for him. So, you know, and I don't necessarily know if that would be to the Leafs' benefit to pick him up.
I don't know that. So.
No,
I don't think so. Aaron, they've got some young guys that have an upside. Be patient with them. And Aaron, the mental aspect of where the Leafs are today, as opposed to where they've been in the past years, right? The Austin Matthews era, all the way through the Austin Matthews era, after year 1 and year 2, the Leafs were always in the position where, well, they're ready. They're ready to do some damage. Those first 2 playoffs, they lost barely. They're ready to do some damage. And they believed in that for 6, 7 years. And they kept bringing in guys to fill in the spaces of what they felt weren't there on the roster. They are in a different position today, Aaron. When they go to the playoffs, if and when they make the playoffs, how many times have we seen in that era Leaf teams lose to far inferior teams during the regular season? Teams during the regular season were far inferior. Columbus Blue Jackets, Montreal Canadiens. You can go on. It's a few. Right now, this year, the Leafs are in the position where they're struggling to make the playoffs. And because of their ego isn't a problem, where their issue is we're supposed to win. The pressure of having to win because they're supposed to win, it doesn't exist this year. It'll always exist with a certain level of Leaf fans. Doesn't matter who. But in the reality of the group of people who watch the Leafs, follow the Leafs, if and when the Leafs make it to the playoffs, odds are good that it's going to be barely almost sneaking into the playoffs. Isn't that a better place to be if you're a Toronto supporter? I'm not going to say fan. I'm going to say a supporter, because a fan is a different kettle of fish. In other words, the danger in the playoffs is not playing really good teams. It's playing teams that aren't that good, and you need to win. Being the team that's supposed to win is a heavy burden to carry.
And you know what? Honestly, I'd almost prefer that they go in as the underdog, because they're going to have a chip on their shoulder. And that's how this team apparently needs to play in order to make sure that they win. We often talk about must-win games. We also talk a lot about should-win games. And every game in the playoffs is a must-win. Well, I think goes without saying. But I would much rather play a must-win game than a should-win game.
Well, absolutely. So, the trap games. The Leafs have had trap series that have cost them. They've had trap situations in the playoffs where they should have won, and they were on the cusp of winning and were incapable of doing that. Now you end up with a team in that situation. Everybody's going to go, holy crap, they could actually eliminate that team. This is crazy. Can you believe it? And then it's not good. The sticks don't get any tighter. They got nothing to lose. All they got to do is play. So in the position the Leafs are in now, this is something that I think doesn't require adding anybody to the team. I really don't think so. I like what they've got. I like the guys that they have. And yes, I can understand wanting to bring in a guy like Luke Schenn, all that experience. But I also happen to think that, if you trust this group of guys, I think this group of players, if they continue playing the way they are, it tells me they like each other. The way they're playing, whether it's every player likes every player on the team, okay, maybe that's too much to ask. But one thing I do know, the symbiosis between all the players and all the lines is pretty freaking good right now.
It's that is definitely true. A lot of them work extremely well together, which actually kind of leads into another one of the things that I want to talk about, which is the Leafs' injured reserve and their third line. You want to talk about a bunch of guys that really seem to like each other. Easton Cowan, Nicholas Roy, and Nicholas Robertson. Nicholas without an H for Roy, and Nicholas with an H for Robertson. Those three guys really seem to enjoy playing together.
The energy level is amazing.
And they're very much not fun to play against. The second guy in to hug Easton Cowan, actually, after he scored his overtime goal, was Nick Robertson. He got there so quickly after the goal was scored, I thought he'd actually replaced Riley on the ice because I thought that Riley managed to get off in time. That's how quick he got there from the bench. So just as a gauge of how well these guys actually like each other, that third line, Cowan, Roy, and Robertson, has been dynamite for the Leafs. It's been providing offensive spark when they need it. Nick Robertson is now shooting the puck like he hates it, which is exactly what he should be doing. And there's a symbiosis there that just works so well for these guys.
And you're talking chemistry. This is why I say I'm in the mind that, I don't know if they need to bring anybody in because if you've got good chemistry on a team, just because you think there's a hole doesn't mean bringing that person in is going to heighten the potential of a team. It could do the opposite. That's just the way I remember sports. Like sometimes the addition can become a subtraction. Sometimes a subtraction can be an addition. And sometimes you do something, it's neutral. It has no effect whatsoever. We've seen all three of those scenarios. And the scenario I like is the reward. I like when you hear a statement like, and I'm going to say it the opposite way. You've heard many a general manager say, or people have suggested, we're going to trade for somebody good because we believe in you guys. We think you guys have done a great job. I've heard this from the Leafs, from Dubas and company. We're going to bring in these guys because we believe in you because you did such a good job. I'm going to flip it around and say, guys, we believe in you guys. We really do. We're not bringing anybody else in. You're our guys.
There's a big difference between we're bringing in this guy and we're going with the team what brung us.
Absolutely. I think in this case, with the history this Leaf team has, sticking to it this year would have I think a positive effect and would let these, because a lot of these players know how many times the Leafs have tried to bring people in to try to make it all work. When you can have the guys that are involved already. I like the chemistry. I like Laughton. Laughton's the guy to me, Aaron, that he's a definition of leadership. And the definition of leadership to me is example and success. And he's been very successful, very good. And he's had some key moments that the Leafs have needed.
Yeah, the other thing to remember here, too, is as much as you may want to try to bring somebody in, you're either going to have to ship somebody out or you're going to have to give up draft picks. The Leafs have 3 draft picks for the 2026 draft. That's the 3rd, 5th, and 6th rounds. It doesn't get much better for 2027. They have a 2nd, a 4th, a 5th, 2 6th, and a 7th. They don't actually have a first-round draft pick again until 2028. So
that
speaks volumes. Not have a choice.
And that's another way. You've introduced another thing. They shouldn't force it. See, because that's what we're talking about here. Why would they go out and get somebody when they're forcing the issue by either getting rid of some young talent that they need for the future or draft picks that they need for the future? The team doesn't care. If like I said, the positive is, hey guys, we believe in you. We're gonna ride with you guys. We believe in you guys. And I think that's the kind of challenge that a Matthews and a Nylander need. And if they don't, the good news is the guys that are here now know what it's like when Nylander and Matthews don't contribute to a level that they should. They understand it's possible. and they're ready to take over. That's what I see with this organization and with this team. I see a team that will win in spite of Nylander's faults, in spite of Matthews' faults. And that's believing in these guys.
And, you know, Nylander is currently dealing with a lower body injury, but there is the possibility he could be back in the lineup as soon as tomorrow against the Vancouver Canucks. Now, he's been out of the lineup with an ailment since December 27th. It's unknown how he picked up this ailment, but apparently he left midway through the second period and didn't come back. He was set to miss his sixth consecutive game on Thursday against the Flyers and is currently listed as day-to-day on dailyfaceoff.com. Berube said that Willie's doing good and he's a possible for Saturday. He's been skating by himself, most recently on actually this morning before the Leafs morning skate. He also skated before practice last week as well, but that doesn't mean that he's anywhere near close to returning. There was no setback in his injury, but apparently at this point it was a roster move to recall Marshall Rafai from the Marlies. Now, the important thing to note here also is that Toronto hasn't lost in regulation since Nylander went down. They've gone 3-0-2 in their last 5 with wins against the Devils, Jets, and Panthers. They've also outscored their opposition 20-13 in that time period, 22-14 now that they beat the Flyers. Now, even though he's missed the last 5 games, Nylander actually still leads the Maple Leafs in scoring this season. He has 14 goals and 41 points through 33 games, ahead of Tavares, who has 38 in 42. But, you know, in response to that, Berube bumped Nyes up to Nylander's spot on the second line after he went down. Nyes has been in Toronto's top 6 ever since. He's got 3 goals and 2 assists in the last 5 games. And this is actually the longest stretch that Nylander has ever missed due to injury. So that's definitely something to be aware of as well at this point.
I wonder if anybody be willing to give a lot to get him.
I don't know, man. I mean, I definitely think it would be something interesting to put to the team.
I would not be afraid of trading Nylander.
Well, the problem that we have is he has no movement.
I understand that. I understand that. But I'm just saying that he's not a guy that fits into this type of team that we see, the all for one for all approach to, to playing hockey. He doesn't fit into this kind of mentality in my mind, because quite frankly, he just doesn't make a commitment every game. He takes a day off. He takes a couple of days off. And I just don't like him for this kind of team. I just don't think he's right for this kind of team. Matthews is willing to at least learn and to play defensively and try to be responsible. This is the thing about this Leaf team. Their success is because of hard work. It's all it is.
Days, but it just looks like Willie doesn't want to work hard.
Not all the time, right? It's not. Look, it's not that he can't. Like, that's what we talked about this before, Aaron. I don't know if it was you or with David, because I'm helping out with his Leaf podcast. But it's making each other accountable. That's what the Leafs need. That's what they want. They want to be holding each other accountable. This group that we're watching play now, right? Now, accountability is something that really does, bring a team together. And if you have somebody that isn't accountable, it's a slippery slope, Aaron. It's a slippery slope. So somebody's going to have to hold him accountable. And if he doesn't like it, the door swings out and in, So maybe he'll be willing to be traded. If he doesn't like, I hope somebody leans on him and lets him know that we don't play that way. And when he gets lackadaisical, when he skates or walks, almost he could walk faster to the bench. When he does that stuff, if I was a player, I'd yell at him. But I'm not a player, so.
Well, and that's the coach's job too. So everybody needs to be held accountable. There's no free rides. That's basically.
Yeah, well, I still think the C has a purpose, and I just don't see Matthews holding Nylander accountable, and I really don't see Matthews holding anybody accountable. I see him as a guy who's a star, and he has the C because he's a star, not because he's a leader. That's not how I see him. I don't see him as a leader. And it doesn't have to be rah, 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 rah stuff. It just has to be, at the end of the game, hold the feet to the fire. He never holds his teammates to the feet to the fire. Never. So I don't believe in that. And he doesn't hold his own feet to the fire. That's the one that at the end of the day, that's the dead giveaway, that, you know, accountability is not first and foremost in his mind. He's a great player, wonderful talent, great contribution to the team. But we'll see how things go. Tell me about this. We've used up a lot of time on the Leafs, which is important because we love talking about the Maple Leafs. But I want to drill down on this American League, National League, East-West idea being floated by the commissioner. What is this all about?
So, in case you've been hiding under a rock, and I know you haven't, but for some of our viewers out there, Rob Manfred has made a lot of changes to Major League Baseball. What with the institution of the pitch clock, the infield shift ban, the ghost runner in extra innings, and starting next year, the automatic ball strike challenge system. But Thursday night, he floated what might be the biggest change yet. He addressed the possibility of Major League Baseball expanding to 30 teams after nearly 30 years with just 30, but also said that there's the chance that they might get rid of the American League and National League and just go with East and West instead. Much like the NBA and the NHL currently have two different conferences. It does a ton for Major League Baseball from a format perspective. You would realign, you would do it along geographical lines, which could alleviate a ton of the travel burden that's on players and on teams. They asked them to play 162 times in 186 days. That is a lot of baseball. So most of the time between 162 and 186 is travel. If you group it by East and West and get rid of the National and American, you can eliminate a lot of travel time, make it less of a strain on players. And that's a huge thing in terms of player health and player safety, because the less tired a player is because of travel, the less likely they are to get injured. Now, they've been using the American League and National League format for 125 years. They used to be very distinct leagues with separate governance systems, rule books, and separate even umpire crews. But that line kind of dissolved in 2000 under Bud Selig to more closely resemble the rest of the sports industry. The other pitch between doing this is also that playoff series was aligned better time-wise for fan bases, which means that fans of the American League and the National League on the East and West Coast wouldn't necessarily be forced to be up at, ungodly hours or have games starting ungodly early. It makes it easier for revenue if you play better. If you play geographically and you get into a postseason, you've got 4-day windows for games that make things easier to align. It's easier for scheduling. It's easier to get contracts with advertisers. It's potentially realigning to 8 divisions of 4 teams each, and keeping teams in the same city in separate divisions. Like, for example, the Mets and the Yankees, they could be part of 2 separate 4-team divisions and work it that way. But it's currently they're thinking West and Southwest, South and Midwest, Midwest and Northeast, and Mid-Atlantic and Southeast. So, the Southwest would be LA, San Diego, Las Vegas, and Arizona. The Midwest would be Minnesota, Milwaukee, Chicago, and St. Louis. The other Midwest would be Chicago, Cleveland, Detroit, and Cincinnati. And, align it that way.
And I can see Toronto going back in with Detroit again.
I could 100% see that. They're thinking, however,
geographically it'll be a fact that it'll turn that way.
The thinking is Northeast would be Yankees, Red Sox, Jays, and Pirates.
Oh, really?
Which is also really interesting to me. It doesn't help that we'd be in the same division as the Yankees and the Red Sox.
What about the Mets?
The Mets would end up in the Mid-Atlantic with the Washington Nationals, the Baltimore Orioles, and the Philadelphia Phillies.
Oh, so it wouldn't really be regional then?
Well,
Ish.
after a
It would
fashion.
be regional-ish.
Regional-ish.
It
Regional
would be
light.
regional. Yeah. Because nothing says Yankees and Mets in the same division better than what you're talking about, and the rivalry of the Yankees against the Mets. Not that I want to get the Jays away from Boston and New York. That's not a concern for me. But yeah, it's the Mets thing. So it isn't really putting the teams that are closest together. It's just kind of winking a little bit of going, well, we're gonna keep things east-west, but there's going to be a little bit of a ish thing going on. So fine. Hey, look, I think it's a great idea. I mean, hockey did it a while ago, right? When WHA left, and then they had one league, one team, and then they did in their area. They did it. The playoffs have been the format of playing closer to the people in the teams in your division. We've seen the NFL and AFL. They've combined. They became the NFC and the AFC, but they haven't done much in trying to put teams together. So it'll be interesting if Rob Manfred gets a chance to do what he's doing. It'll be interesting, to say the least.
Now, there have been a few other developments here as well. Max Kepler got suspended for 80 games after a positive PED test. Kepler played 127 games with the Phillies last season, hitting .216 with 18 home runs and 52 ribbies. That doesn't really speak to PEDs. Those numbers seem, not exactly overwhelmingly awesome. I know that he's 32, and he's currently a free agent after playing with the Phillies, but the clock isn't going to start on his suspension until he actually signs a major league contract for the upcoming season. I don't necessarily know if he's going to be able to sign anywhere, mainly because the numbers, even with PEDs, haven't been all that spectacular. So certainly in his role as a utility player, he's been handy, but on the hitting side of things, which is usually where you expect PEDs to be the most dominant, it doesn't look like it's going to be a thing.
Thank goodness to that.
Yeah. Now, the Jays removed Paxton Schultz from their 40-man roster earlier this season, and that meant he had to pass through waivers. He made his major league debut in 2025 and pitched in 13 games for Toronto with a .438 ERA. He allowed 12 earned runs in 24.2 innings pitched, struck out 28 and walked 8, and got snatched off waivers by the Washington Nationals. They've lost another arm from their bullpen, but it doesn't seem like it's a major component. I'm not sure how it's going to affect their competitive balance going forward. I don't remember watching him pitch, so I'm in a little bit of a hard spot here because I can't speak to his actual appearance with the Jays.
Absolutely. Why don't we talk a little bit about the broadcasting schedule? Things have changed for the Jays.
Yeah, it's been a while, but NBC and Peacock are taking over Sunday Night Baseball from ESPN, and they're implementing what they call a new Sunday leadoff broadcast. As a result of that, the Blue Jays look to be featured in that. Specifically, they're going to get, I think, 4 or 5 different games. Specifically, 3rd against the Twins, May 24th against the Pirates, May 31st against the Orioles, and July 19th against the Chicago White Sox. Now, the Sunday leadoff is going to feature games that start at noon, 12:30, 3, and 4, as a lead into primetime baseball, which starts at 6:30, 7:05, and later. But we'll be finally be back on national broadcasts in the States.
Absolutely. So what do you think? Will the Jays lose Bo Bichette?
There's a lot of stuff swirling about him going to the Phillies and the Jays picking up Kyle Tucker. Definitely brought into more reality when they signed Kazuma Okamoto to that 4-year, $60 million deal. That kind of takes them out of the running from signing both. So it looks like they're going to be doing an either-or situation here. At this point here, it feels more like Toronto was going to be going all in on Tucker instead of Bo Bichette. And it could potentially hurt because Bo is a fan favorite. I would like to see him come back. Obviously, a lot of fans would like to see him come back too. The obvious issue that we have to deal with, however, are injury issues and whether or not he's going to be able to equal his performance of the past couple of years on a consistent basis going forward, especially based on the issues that he's been having with his knees. I'd like to see Bo come back, just jealously, personally speaking. But if they get Tucker, I'm not necessarily going to be all that upset. So we'll have to see how it falls out.
Absolutely. Let's go to basketball and let's go to Quickly gets the winning points for the Raptors.
Yeah, they went up against the Charlotte Hornets in the back and forth game. The Raptors came into the game winning 4 of the last 5. The Hornets came into the game after beating the OKC Thunder. They beat them 124-97. Both teams came into the game with a lot of momentum. On the Raptors side, Brandon Ingram left the game in the first half with a sprained right thumb and did not return. The X-rays came back negative. Scotty Barnes appeared to have suffered some type of right knee injury in the fourth quarter. He did return to the game to help the Raptors pull off the win, but the main star of the show was Emmanuel Quickly. After the go-ahead layup by Hornets star LaMelo Ball to put them up 94-96, the Raptors called a quick timeout to get the ball to half court. They ran a play where Scotty Barnes set a screen on Quickly's man. They inbounded it to Quickly, and he shot a catch-and-through three-pointer from the top of the key as time expired. So it was a buzzer beater. They won 97-96 and improved to 23-15, fourth in the Eastern Conference now. The Hornets now have a record of 13-24 and are 12th in the East. So good news for the Raptors.
Fantastic. Yeah. Okay, the Riders announced some coaching. Their coaching staff. Pretty
much, yeah. New additions to Corey Mace's staff for the 2026 campaign are Micah Johnson on the defensive line coach, Jeff Stushik as the special teams and assistant coach. Joshua Bell has been named the club's defensive coordinator. Jordan Linnen will take over as the defensive back coach. The remaining members of the 112th Grey Cup winning coaching and football ops staff will continue in their positions for the 2026 season. So a few changes up front. It'll be interesting to see how everything goes from here for them. I'd like to see if they can get back there.
Absolutely. How about the Red Blacks?
So they've extended defensive lineman Michael Wakefield. He's an American player. He's back on a 1-year deal. 6 foot, 260-pound player out of Valdosta, Georgia. Played 18 games for the Red Blacks last season with 24 defensive tackles. It'd be good to see him back on the line again.
Absolutely. Great to see him there. Let's talk about the Argos signing a national linebacker.
Yeah, they signed 6 foot, 225-pound Jalen Rayam. He was selected 5th in the 2025 CFL draft. He was at the University of Texas, El Paso in 24, but suffered a season-ending injury on the 3rd play of his first game for the Miners. Ryan was born in Calgary and played at Middle Tennessee State as well. So we'll have to see if he's all the way back. I'm pretty sure that he is. So it'll be good to see him on the line.
How about those Stampeders?
So they've signed Corey Cawley Jr. Cawley played a senior college season at North Carolina State. And in 6 games for the Wolfpack, he had 8 tackles and 2 pass breakups. So that's a good thing. He used to play with the Maryland Terrapins. In 32 games with them, he had 27 tackles and 3 passes defended.
Let's talk Ticats. Close out the CFL story.
Yep. They've assigned American defensive back Caleb Ford Dement. He's a 5'11", 178-pound defensive back from White House, Texas. He most recently spent time with the San Antonio Brahmas after signing with the club in August 2024.
Okay, let's go to the National Hockey League and our Canadian teams, the Habs Flames.
So a few games to go through here. The Canadians had a 3-goal second period to beat the Flames 4-1. That was on Wednesday night. Alexander Tessier had a goal and 2 assists. Lane Hudson, Oliver Kampanen, and Cole Caulfield also scored for Montreal, who are now 24, 13, and 6. And Jacob Fowler on the back end has been playing absolutely dynamite since they called him up from the Laval Rocket, had 28 saves. Joel Farabee scored for Calgary, and Dustin Wolf made 31 saves on his end. So, I'm not sure if that contract is all that Calgary's hoped it would be, but it's not all that bad yet.
Let's talk about the Jackets and the Habs.
So Alex Tessier, former Columbus Blue Jackets forward and now currently with the Habs, had himself a night in a 6-2 win over the Florida Panthers. He was going up against former teammate Sergei Bobrovsky, who now plays with Florida. They beat the Panthers for their third straight win, which has moved them into first place in the Atlantic. He was able to net his first career hat trick in his 262nd NHL game, scoring his third goal with just 50 seconds left in the game to power the Canadiens past them. So Tessier, Per-Edouard Bellemare, and Antoine Roussel are the only French nationals to reach 100 career NHL points in league history. So it's good for them.
Lundell gets fined for a stick.
Yeah, in that same game, the Department of Player Safety has announced that Lundell has been fined $5,000 for high sticking Alexandre Tessier. This is the maximum allowable. It occurred at 16:51 of the second period.
Absolutely. The Mammoth beat the Sens.
So in the first game of a back-to-back, the Mammoth beat the Sens 3-1. This is just a couple short hours after NHL had awarded Utah the 2027 Winter Classic. Lawson Krause and John Marino scored in the 3-minute, 21-second span in the first period, and Karel Vejmelka made 33 saves as the Mammoth beat the Ottawa Senators 3-1 to cap a big day for the franchise. Ridley Greig scored for Ottawa, and Levi Merilainen stopped 18 shots. Greig so far has scored in all 4 games that he's played against Utah.
Sens lose 8-2 to the Avalanche.
So this was the second part of the back-to-back with travel. Colorado Avalanche player Josh Manson had 2 goals, 2 assists, and a fight as the Avalanche routed the Senators 8-2. Brock Nelson also had 2 goals, and Nathan McKinnon, Cale Makar, Marty Nakash, and Brett Burns also scored for the Avalanche to open a 7-game homestand. The Avalanche are 18-0-2 at Ball Arena so far this season. They tied a franchise record for goals in a period with 6 in the second period. The last time Colorado scored that many was November 7th, 2019 against Nashville, again in the second period.
Well, the Trolls are going at it, going after the Sens and their team and the status of players.
Yeah, now Ullmark has not played for Ottawa since allowing 4 goals on 14 shots in a loss to the Maple Leafs on December 27th. He's been away from the team for personal reasons. There were a lot of online rumors floating around as to what those personal reasons were.
Good Lord.
But Steven Stamkos has come out firmly against it. I'm unsure as to what people's preoccupation is with salacious non-truths about players and their families. I understand if you're bored and you need something to talk about, but come on, people, you got better things to do than that.
Better things than that to do. Let's talk about McDavid, and he's rolling, baby. The cream has risen.
It's a 17-game point streak for him now. Evan Bouchard scored a power play goal midway through the third to give the Oilers a 4-3 come-behind victory, but it was Connor McDavid's goal with 21 seconds left in the second period that pulled Edmonton within a goal and helped turn the tide. Winnipeg is on a rather inglorious 10-game winless streak at this point. They've been taking a beating recently, and I'm not sure what it's going to take to get them turned around. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Frank, but Winnipeg has looked absolutely horrid.
Winnipeg is it's just I think what it is they ended up getting tripped up. Their goalie got hurt. He ended up out. Some of the changes they've made have not panned out for them, and they're on a roll, much like at least we're never this bad. But the point is, they need something to turn things around, and their goalie can't do it for them. Their captain's trying. The disappointment their captain had in not making Team Canada, all that stuff rolled into a nice little package has led to this Winnipeg team that won the President's Trophy last year. This is not a team that was in decline. This is a team that the bottom fell out all in a matter of literally months over the summer. Incredible. Let's talk about the Flames and Zach Parayko.
So a lot of people have been upset with the fact that occasionally so far this season, Zane Parekh has been healthy scratched. The Flames wanted to make sure that everybody knows that this time around, he is scratched because he is actually injured. He sustained an upper body injury during the World Junior Hockey Championships, and unfortunately, there's no timetable for his return. Parekh has been limited to 11 appearances with the Flames this season, and he missed a 5-week stretch due to injury before he was loaned out to the World Juniors. He racked up 13 points at the tournament, which is a new record for Canadian Blue Liners, and he didn't dress for Wednesday's 4-1 loss in Montreal, and was a spectator again on Thursday. Now, it's encouraging that Martin Pospisil's name was on the list as Slovakia announced its roster, but he's not back yet either. So it's one of those situations where, as much as you want to see the kid back, he's got to be given enough time to recover after the World Juniors. And so, that's why he's listed currently as day-to-day.
The team has to recover as well. They lost 4-1 to the Bruins.
And they generally look like, I was watching some of the highlights for this in some parts of the game. They genuinely looked tired. They looked slower. Yegor Sharangorovich is in his 400th career game. Dustin Wolf made his 8th consecutive start with Devin Cooley still unavailable due to illness. They looked tired and slow. And it's the Olympic break can't come soon enough for some of these guys. They arrived at the team hotel actually at around 3 a.m. following a game in Montreal. They struggled to establish consistency on the second night of a back-to-back. The fact that they don't have any goalies has certainly made things tougher for Dustin Wolf. Blake Coleman was forced to leave the game after suffering an injury and was unable to finish despite attempting to return. No word from Ryan Huska as to what's happening there, but we'll know more shortly.
Absolutely. The Canucks, rumor has it, we're trying to trade an Oiler back to the team.
Vancouver Canucks analyst Rick Dollywall was saying the Canucks were trying to offload Evander Kane. Apparently, they were trying to get him back to Edmonton, but unfortunately, I don't think they kept the receipt, which means they're currently stuck with him for now. They are currently offloading veterans. As a pending UFA, Kane hasn't been the greatest fit and really doesn't have a future in Vancouver. He did have some success with the Oilers, once leading them in playoff scoring. But yeah, they traded Kane to Vancouver to dump his salary and contract and gain some cap flexibility. So it's unlikely that they would take him back, but I don't blame Vancouver for trying. They need to do whatever they can to help their team now. And the fact that they got rid of their captain certainly seems to me that they're selling and nearing the dreaded rebuild.
Yeah. Well, he may become a good piece of barter chip at the trade deadline when maybe somebody's looking for some edge and some scoring, and he can do it in the playoffs.
For sure.
Let's talk about Patrick Kane, and he makes history against the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah. He's been a thorn in the side of Vancouver Canucks players and fans for a lot of time now. He made history against the franchise as he became the 50th player in NHL history to score 500 goals. Coincidentally, it happened against Vancouver. It came on Thursday night when he scored into Vancouver's empty net at 16:07 of the third period. Kane ranks 7th amongst active players for points against Vancouver. The only players who have more are Jordan Eberle, Corey Perry, Anze Kopitar, Leon Draisaitl, and Connor McDavid. Thursday could be Kane's last game against the Canucks. He's an unrestricted UFA at the end of the season. He may end up retiring. But yeah, so another history-making night for Patrick Kane.
Carter Hart gets injured in the first period, Aaron.
I want to say I feel for the guy, but at the same time, karma, man, these things will come around. I know a lot of fans in Vegas have not been happy with the signing. Bruce Cassidy said Hart is going to receive a full evaluation today, and an update will likely be provided Saturday morning, but it didn't look good when he went off, so hopefully it's nothing serious. Columbus had possession of the puck, which forced Hart to stay in the crease while his teammates tried to defend. Boone Jenner capitalized by scoring from 1-0 lead at 8:25 of the period. Akira Schmid replaced Hart. Now, NHL rules prevent stoppage of play for an injured player if the opposing team has the puck, unless it's clear that the player is seriously hurt. It didn't look like he was at that particular point. So there you have it.
Absolutely. What about the Blackhawks? Bedard's coming back.
Yeah, he's set to return. They're going to be glad to have him back. Honestly, he's missed 12 games with a right shoulder injury. He's been cleared to play tonight against Washington. He participated in the morning skate ahead of the matchup with the Capitals. Obviously, it's a huge boost. I'm anxiously looking forward to it. Hopefully there'll be some good news to report. One other story I wanted to touch on that unfortunately I missed in my script. James Reimer is back. He's been signed to a PTO with the Ottawa Senators. He has reported to the Belleville Sens. There were rumors that he could potentially be starting for the Belleville Senators tonight as they play the Marlies. I haven't seen the lineups yet, but we'll keep an eye out for that.
Hey, James Reimer, always ready to drop his goalie bag somewhere.
Yep.
Yeah, good for him. So, what about that reunion that's going to happen this weekend, David Kempf?
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I got to be honest with you.
Is that sarcasm?
I don't know if he's going to be getting
Is he going to be on the ice?
I don't know. We'll have to see. It doesn't.
I always liked him. I
I
always liked him, Aaron. I always liked him. He just I don't know. I don't think he was ever. Well, I don't think this coach liked him.
Good player, just not necessarily the right fit.
I remember watching him and Nylander that one year in the World Championships. They were both tearing up, the World Championships that one year, and he was an offensive threat in that tournament, and I found that surprising. But good for him. He's with the Canucks right now, and that game, we're going to be up late watching that game, and
I am definitely going to be looking forward to that. I'll be honest with you.
It's going to be interesting. They owe a little something to the Vancouver Canucks.
No, they definitely do. Now, here's the thing. So far this season, I don't think he's been all that impressive. The last points that he had was December 30th. That's David Kampf. He had 1 goal and 1 assist versus Philadelphia back on December 30th. So far this season, he's played 22 games with the Canucks. He's had 2 goals and 1 assist for 3 points, and is a very healthy -5. So, I'm hoping he doesn't have the kind of game that most ex-Maple Leafs have against the Maple Leafs on Saturday. But
I was pointing it out, a little tweak for Aaron, just a little tweak. Anyway, thanks for doing this, Aaron. I hope you had a great week, and I hope you have a great weekend, and it'll be a lot of fun, and we'll get back at her on Monday.
Yes, sir. We'll see you Monday evening.
Thanks for doing this. For Aaron William Freeland, I'm Candid Frank Stanishi. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again next time.